And let's do this. I just realized this is not attached to anything. Let's do that. Happy Monday, guys. I'm Alexandra. I'm founder of Life with Herpes. I'm excited to be here with you. Thank you for joining me today. If you are wondering, like, what are you watching? What is going on? Who are you? We're talking about herpes. Why in the world we talk about something like that? Anyways, I was diagnosed with HSV1 in 2003, and I was diagnosed with HSV2 in 2011. So I've been living with herpes for almost 20 years. It's something that I, got in my 20s. One of the things that we think is like, ew, gross, I'm never going to get that. Or like, ew, I would never come across that. And sadly, we're not aware just how common herpes really is. 2 out of 3 people are living with HSV1 and 1 out of 6 are living with HSV2. So it's extremely, extremely, extremely common. And by the time we've reached the age of 50, 90% of the population has come in contact with herpes. So it's just a matter of, does your body pick it up or not? Anyways, we can talk more about that. I go live as often as I can to educate, to provide up-to-date content, information, and just support people that are living with herpes. So if you have questions, you can go on ahead and ask your questions. I'm going to apologize up front. I get hundreds of questions and I do my best to get through them all, but I do not always get through them. So I apologize to you up front. So if you're watching this and you have questions, go on ahead and ask them now because it will be easy for me to get through them. People like to ask me questions like, how did you get herpes? How common is it? How do you prevent transmission to a partner? What are some products you can do to help lessen the outbreaks? Is there anything you can do to prevent outbreaks? How do you disclose to a partner? How do you disclose to someone you're dating? All that. You are amazing. I'm a healthcare worker. Oh, well, thank you. But thank you for being a healthcare worker. That's awesome. Can I talk about herpes and pregnancy? Absolutely. So the number one thing I'd recommend if you are pregnant and you have herpes, genital herpes specifically, I would get on the same page as your doctor. So you and your doctor need to get on the same page. The mom cannot transmit herpes when she's pregnant. Like in utero, the baby is safe, the baby is fine, the baby is protected, but it would be during delivery is when the concern is. So what you need to do is get on the same page as your doctor and decide what your doctor feels most comfortable with. If your doctor's like, hey, I like to do this, 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 and this, and you're like, I don't know if I like that, then definitely get second, third opinions. As far as for my personal situation, when I was pregnant, my husband was like, whatever you feel comfortable with, what you and the doctor feel comfortable with, I feel comfortable with. So my doctor said he felt completely comfortable delivering vaginally. So I had a vaginal birth, and all that was required was that I didn't have an outbreak within the last week and that I was on the antiviral at the time of delivery. So that was what my doctor and I and my husband both felt comfortable with. So is that your question about pregnancy? I'm really excited. If you are pregnant, Elizabeth, that's so exciting. I'm really excited for you to bring a baby in. For those of you that are watching, and if you have friends that need to hear this information, or you're like, oh, I have this one friend that has herpes, definitely share this information with them. Again, this is here to educate. This is here to bring awareness. It's to, when we're diagnosed with herpes, we feel ostracized. We feel like we're no longer part of like normal society, and that's absolute BS. And the fact is that like people having herpes is normal, which is the ironic thing. Can you contract it and have it be dormant for years and flare up a couple of years later? Yes. So that's one of the big misconceptions is you can come across herpes at some point in your life, never get an outbreak, and then get your first outbreak decades later. You may be getting tested for it. You may not be getting tested for it. A lot of time, if you're not getting flare-ups, why would you test for it? I have people that are in monogamous relationships. They've been married and they're like, I've been married for 10 years. How did this just happen? So that is very common. Where do you get tested? So my favorite way is, if you need a diagnosis right now, would be telehealth, would be Herpal. I use Herpal. They're awesome. It's an awesome company. I was just talking to the founder earlier today. They're an online telehealth company that can get you diagnosed today. They can also help you with your medications if you have questions on that. But if you are going to get tested, you could, if you're going to get tested, you can get a blood test or you can get a viral DNA swab. So the blood test is they're testing your blood for the antibodies. The herpes virus doesn't live in your blood, but what they're looking for is the antibodies. And then when they're doing a swab, you have to have an active outbreak in order to swab and get the viral DNA. Both ways will tell you if you have what type you have, and it's going to give you a result. So those are be some ways to get tested. Big yikes. Yeah, herpes is a big yike. It was absolutely a big yike when I first found something down there, as it is for most people that have herpes. You feel like your life is over. Ironically, 80% of the population has it. So do outbreaks lessen over time? They absolutely do. My outbreaks have lessened significantly. The intensity of the outbreak, it's completely a different game. Is it weird that they don't include it on the STD, STI panels unless you ask specifically? It's really unfortunate that it's not included in like regular blood work. If it was included in regular blood work, everyone would find out they have herpes, and then this wouldn't exist, like this stigma. There would be no need for this because everybody would have it, and then it would just normalize itself. They don't want to test you for it because everybody has it, and the aftermath of finding out is so much more worse. Can you pass it if you're not broke out? So yes, unfortunately, even if you do not have an active outbreak, you can still transmit herpes. 70% of transmissions occur without active outbreaks, which means that there's this thing called asymptomatic shedding. It's when the virus sheds and we are contagious. We don't know when it's happening. There's no signs, there's no symptoms, there's no itch, there's no tingle, there's no blister, there's no lesion, all that. And we're contagious. So lots of other viruses have asymptomatic shedding. This one specifically does, and that's how the majority of transmissions occur. So the thought process of like, oh, I don't need to disclose to a partner that I have it because I don't have an outbreak right now, it's not relevant, is not actually accurate. You're unfortunately able to transmit herpes without an active outbreak. Can you have children? Absolutely. I'm a mommy. I had a vaginal birth, so you can be a parent. It has nothing to do. Again, 80% of the population has herpes. If we couldn't be parents, we would have died out. Like, we wouldn't exist. So I contracted HSV2 a little over a year ago. I have been struggling with it mentally. Absolutely. It is a huge mental mind F. It's really frustrating how it's the stigma that gets you. It's not so much the fact that you have herpes or the fact that you get blisters here and there when your immune system is shot, or if you are burning the candle from both ends. It really is the mind trauma of how do I disclose? What do I do now? We're made to feel like we're different people, or we should feel ashamed for having herpes because of potentially promiscuous activity, or even if we didn't, we're assumed or put into that category. So I completely understand. The best thing I'd recommend doing if you are newly diagnosed with herpes and you're like, what do I do about this? How do I get through it? I would educate yourself on it, which is exactly what you're doing. If you're watching this and you're like, I have a friend that needs to hear this, please share it with them. Educate yourself. I have tons and tons and tons of videos here. I have them on YouTube. I have them on Instagram. Educate yourself on it. And the next thing I would do would be find a community. When I was diagnosed in 2011, there was no community. There was nowhere to go. It was extremely sterile. Like, the idea of being diagnosed with herpes was like a very sterile experience. It was like, here you go, here's your pamphlet, and here you go. So I didn't want that for the generations going forward. I wanted it to be a place where you could educate yourself and feel like home. Do I have herpes if I never had an outbreak? You might. Just because you don't get outbreaks doesn't mean you don't have herpes. That's one of the big misconceptions. People are like, well, I never had an outbreak, so I'm clean. And I hate the word clean. I'm clean and I have herpes. Doesn't mean that I'm a dirty person, right? Doesn't mean that I was promiscuous. Doesn't mean that I'm promiscuous now. Doesn't mean that I couldn't be if I wanted to be. So all it means is that I have a virus that the majority of the population has. And I just disclose that to people. And back to that, you may have picked up herpes and it can take years before you get your initial outbreak, or you may never. A majority of the people with herpes are asymptomatic. How do you date someone with cold sores safely? Number one, I'd get tested to see if you have it. Number two, you and your partner just need to communicate and see what you feel comfortable with. The best way that has been disclosed to us from the CDC is taking the antiviral. That's going to reduce the transmission mostly, the largest amount. If your partner doesn't want to do that, doesn't want to take a prescription drug, taking supplements can be really helpful. You yourself, if you don't have herpes, the stronger your immune system is going to be better. Things like vitamin B, vitamin D, zinc, getting plenty of sunshine, things like that. Angiographis right here. Angiographis, I really need to pull up the documentation on it, but there are some studies that will show, again, I'm not a doctor, I can't make claims, I can't do anything, but there are studies that will show that taking angiographis can prevent the virus to inhibit someone new. So this might be really helpful if you want to prevent transmission to a partner, or you're the partner that doesn't want to get it, taking this daily. I started taking this mainly because it's like cold and flu season, and it helps with like, what's the word I'm looking for? Chest and cold and all that type of stuff. But it also has really powerful things against the herpes virus. I have it linked. You can use a promo code. You can get % off, but this is going to be really helpful. Also, what my duo is the lysine and monolaurin. These are two things I take religiously and I take daily. The lysine basically helps prevent the replication of the herpes virus. So if you're someone that has herpes, this is going to be really helpful in preventing replication. And then the monolaurin basically allows our immune system, it disrupts the outer layer of the herpes virus, and allows our immune system to go and penetrate it. So not just the herpes virus, but other viruses in our body. So these are going to be two things that are really, really, really helpful. Again, they're all linked together. You can go check them out. But these are specifically for herpes. This one is new research about herpes, but also good for respiratory infections. You contracted herpes a little over. Oh, also, speaking of cold sores, you said, how do you safely date someone with cold sores? If you have cold sores, especially like right now in the winter when it's like harsh winter conditions, our Secret Society SPF lip balm is going to be the most soothing thing possible. There's lysine in here. There's 100 milligrams of lysine. So it topically can help fight herpes outbreaks. And then the essential oils and other natural ingredients in here are very soothing, wound healing, and it is naturally SPF. And the sun can cause herpes outbreaks. So if you are someone that has oral herpes, that is also amazing. How do you know that you aren't shedding during labor and delivery? You don't, but you take the antiviral that is prescribed to you by your doctor, and it, according to my doctor, I'm not, I can't recommend or anything, but according to my doctor, he said if you're taking the antiviral and you don't have an outbreak during delivery, you're going to have a less than 1% chance of transmitting herpes to your child. So I was like, I'll take it. The difference between HSV1 and HSV2, they really are very similar. We didn't know that they were different viruses until about 40 years ago. We just didn't have the technology in order to separate the viral DNA and realize that they were type 1 and type 2. Type 1 is much more common because it's oral. It's easier to pass things orally than it is things genitally, right? We just use our mouths way more. I don't mean that in any sort of kinky way. I just mean that in we use our mouths that are exposed. HSV2, HSV1, typically HSV2 people have more outbreaks. I don't know why. Nobody knows why. Is it the placebo effect that there's more of a stigma attached to it? I don't really know, but there really is no difference. It's so hard. Is it hard to have herpes? Yeah, it definitely can be frustrating. I just got diagnosed with HSV1 a couple days ago. I'm so sorry. I totally understand what you're going through. It's extremely painful. So did the father of your child get it? No, my husband does not have herpes. We've been together since 2014, and he does not have herpes, either one, HSV1 or HSV2. How do you prevent it from spreading even with no outbreak? So I take these supplements daily. I take monolaurin and lysine. I also take a lot of other multivitamins daily. So I do this to keep my immune system strong, and so I'm not fighting some other, like the flu or the cold or whatever. So I do that. Also, we have lube. I don't have any right here. We have a lube that is designed, part of the Secret Society wellness products that my husband and I use. But when I do have outbreaks, I use like the Rescue Balm, which I was just looking at it. It's like our #1 bestseller. So I use this. You apply it directly to your outbreak. It feels good when you do that. It's very soothing. It's wound repairing, all that fun stuff. Tips on treating herpes around the mouth. Reese, I was just showing, and I guess I'm not trying to be like, get this product, get that product, but I really am passionate about how good these products really are. If you have oral herpes, this is going to be your best thing you're going to want to get. Even if you don't have outbreaks, even if you don't have oral herpes, like using it daily feels really good on my, this is all I use daily. And I put it on. It's going to be really helpful to apply something topically. And then if you're dealing with outbreaks, whether it is oral or genital, taking lysine, taking monolaurin are going to be also really helpful. All this is linked for you. You guys can check it out. Yeah, but there's some great products here. Thank you for the follows. I appreciate it. Again, if you know somebody that has herpes, this is a really good place. And like, I do my best to educate and be here and be normal. And I'm a mom and I'm a wife and I'm a daughter, and I don't know, I like going for runs, and I like drinking wine, and I'm pretty normal of a person. So you've seen so many people on here using herbals and natural remedies. Yeah, so as far as herbs, there are people promoting like the herbal remedies. I would say be very careful with those. They come from another continent. They come from another country. There's a lot of people making claims that they're going to be cured. There is no cure for herpes at this point in time. Do I believe there's a way to allow the virus to go dormant in your body? I absolutely believe that. As of now, the best ways that we know, again, are promoting just overall health in your body and getting our nervous system to go to get calm. You have to heal your nervous system. You can't have your nervous system out of whack. When it's like that, you're going to be getting lots of herpes outbreaks. I've been diagnosed for almost 10 years, and I still hate myself. So that really is hard for me to hear. I would really invite you to understand why. Why are you saying you hate yourself because you have herpes? Because herpes has nothing to do with this. Herpes is the frosting. It's the cherry on top. The issues we had before being diagnosed with herpes, the issues we have that we tell ourselves, like, oh, I can't meet anybody because I have herpes. I can't lose weight because I have herpes. I can't get a job promotion because I have herpes. I can't apply to the program I want in school because I have herpes. I don't want to go to this. I don't want to become this, that, or whatever because I have herpes. And it really, what it does is it holds us back and prevents us. So when we're saying that, like, you're saying that you still hate yourself 10 years later, then I would invite yourself to look at it and say, what was going on 10 years ago, and have you had the opportunity to address it? Because one of the beautiful things about being diagnosed with herpes is it forces us to crack open that onion. You peel back the layers, you cry, it hurts, it's painful, but you become the person that you really are. It's like the rising phoenix. I have it, and I would have never known. I never had an outbreak if it wasn't for the blood test. Yeah, so there's a lot of people that have no idea, and they get a blood test and they're like, oh, here it is. Perfect example. You may have no clue that you have herpes. You may never get outbreaks. How accurate are the blood tests versus the testing a sore? You know, there's a lot of false positive, false negatives. There's a lot of room for errors in anything we do. I would definitely ask your doctor and tell your doctor, like, when did you first feel your symptoms? Is it new? All these things. If you are curious, if you don't believe your results are accurate, like let's say you've been exposed to someone that has herpes and they're freaking out, I would continue to go back for the next couple of months to get some results. Your body is not going to test positive with a blood draw until you've created the antibodies, and it can take your body weeks, months, years to create those antibodies. And same thing with a viral, like to swab it, to get the viral DNA, you have to have an active lesion. So like, unless you have viral shedding, but you have to have an active lesion. How do you prevent it from spreading to a partner when they don't have an outbreak? Again, we want to make sure that your immune system, both parties' immune systems are strong. Everyone's going to come up with a different thing that works for them. Some people want to take the antiviral. Some people want to use condoms. Some people are like, whatever. It's going to be what works for you and what you think is going to be best for your partner. Like I said earlier, this angiographis has some studies out showing that it can help prevent it inhibiting someone that doesn't have herpes. That would be really, really awesome. So I can find some more articles on this. Maybe I can do a full video on it if you guys want that, so we can help find out that information. My eyebrows are cute. I got them done, so thank you. Difference, I talked about HSV1, HSV2. How do you prevent it from spreading to a partner? I just talked about that. Do they itch with the bumps? Yeah, they can. They can itch. It can feel like, it's almost like an itch you can never get to, like you can't itch it, like it doesn't go away. I'm trying to get through all these, guys. What's the difference between Valtrex and what I offer? So Valtrex is a prescription drug. It has to be prescribed to you by your doctor. And what I'm talking about are supplements, which are designed to supplement your diet. So that's the difference. Where can I find these products? They're all linked for you. And you can just check them out. So HSV2 is transmittable 24/7. HSV1 and HSV2 are not transmissible 24/7. They are you can only transmit herpes if you have an active outbreak or the virus is shedding. Unfortunately, we don't know when the virus is shedding. When you have a flare-up, do you sometimes have UTI-like symptoms? I don't have UTI-like symptoms. Sometimes I'll get kind of like, the area feels weepy. I don't want to say I have a discharge, but it just feels weepy. I know someone who had it. Get a nutritionist. Yeah, absolutely. I have a naturopath, and the stronger your gut is and all that. Can you kiss if you have HSV1 genitally? So wherever you have herpes, so if you have oral herpes, genitally you're not contagious. If you have genital herpes, orally you're not contagious. So it doesn't like go through you to the, like, if you have genital HSV1, it doesn't mean that you have oral HSV1. You're amazing. Thank you for this. You're welcome. Hello, can the products be shipped to the UK? Some of them can, so you'll just have to see which ones can be shipped. It's crazy how normal it really is and how common it really is. Hi, friend. It is. Do I take Valtrex? I don't take Valtrex. I did take the antivirals when I was first diagnosed, but I no longer take them. Do you have it before? Did I have it before I met my husband? If so, how did you go about telling him? Yes, I had it before I met my husband. I disclosed to him the same day I got it. He was my colleague, so I walked into the office and he saw that I wasn't okay, and so I told him. But when we were ready to date, which was like 3 or 4 years later, we had bigger things to talk about in dating, and herpes wasn't an issue. Like, I like to use the example, herpes should be the easiest, hardest conversation you have in a relationship. You have to disclose it. Is it uncomfortable? Yeah. Is it a fun conversation? No. But when the relationship is a strong relationship, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying that is going to be easy for every disclosure we have. Have I been rejected? Absolutely, I've been rejected. And that person wasn't right for me. And I hate being so cliche, like, well, they're not right for you if they just, but yeah, a lot of times people just aren't either ready, or it's not worth the risk. There's a risk in every relationship. I'm not just meaning herpes. There's a financial risk. There's other viruses that we may or may not have, knowingly or unknowingly. There's a lot of risks we take in relationships. Herpes shouldn't be the big risk. Which type do I have? I have type 1 and type 2. I have both. I have type 1 oral and type 2 genital. What's the difference between Valtrex and what I offer? So Valtrex is a prescription drug. that is prescribed to you by your doctor. And what I'm talking about are supplements. You feel dirty and rejected. I would invite yourself to really look at that. A lot of times we have this preconceived notion of the type of person that had herpes. Like, she has herpes because or he has herpes because, and then all of a sudden you get herpes and you're like, wait, am I that person? So you have to redefine and re-identify what that means, and really, why did you feel that way? Why did you think the type of person with herpes had these activities or these adjectives, or you could describe them in this certain way? And once you start to unwind that, you realize, like, oh, I was either being super judgy, or I was casting a projection on somebody that wasn't even accurate, or I was like predisposed to these thoughts because of this. And you might go, wow, I really was led not to think for myself in this. I was just led to listen to what I heard in society or what I heard in movies or things like that. All right, my friends, I am going to go. I hope you understand I did not have an opportunity to get to all the questions. Oh, what's in my hand? It's the Lifesaver lip balm that I use daily, and some people were talking about oral herpes, like what's the best thing to use. So this is it. Will it ever go away? Herpes will never, at this point, rid our body. We will have it for the rest of our life. There is no cure, but there are ways to make it go dormant in your body so you don't get outbreaks. My advice on having a baby, we talked about this in the very beginning. It's not a guarantee you'll pass it. I had a vaginal birth, did not pass herpes to my son, and my son still does not have herpes. So, all right, guys, thank you. I'll see you soon, and hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. I need to get rid of my pumpkin. And what was the chapstick? This is the Lifesaver lip balm. It's linked for you. It has lysine in it, and it's really helpful if you have oral herpes. It's like one of our best sellers. I use it daily, all the time. And it's naturally SPF. Okay, cool. Bye.